Okay, and we are live. We are in the green room with Jarrett Johnson today, again returning with a strong internet connection. Welcome, Jarrett.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, so the last time I had you on, there were internet issues, and since then, it seems like things have calmed down, and we're having a better connection today. So that's wonderful.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be back.
So I just want to kind of recap some of the things you were doing before all of this COVID-19 thing hit, and you were doing Michael Bublé's tour, or you were
Hmm.
touring with Michael Buble,
Sure
and
was.
you had a scheduled tour that got canceled. Is that correct?
Postponed as of now.
you know, uh, we're hoping that that can reschedule maybe July. I mean,
I mean, at this point, I just look forward to getting back on stage whenever that opportunity arrives. Because I mean, but at the same time, I'm not I'm not of the mind that people's health should be compromised or potentially should be compromised. So whenever the scientists and the people who are much smarter than me think it's the best time to go back out, then absolutely let's go.
I agree with you on that. I would be one that would benefit immediately if everybody started working again.
Sure. Yeah.
I would be the first guy to say woohoo. At the same time, I don't want to get sick because I'm of that age, you know.
Yeah. I
Uh
mean, and I'm actually one of those. I fall in I have a slight asthma situation and
ooh,
out and that kind of thing. So I don't want to. I mean, I'm in decent shape, but I don't want to have to like find out the hard way what this thing
right?
would do to my body. So
Right. So now, just because what I've also learned since the last time we did this, I've been at this about 4 weeks and I've learned a lot. I've learned that people tune in at least for the first 10 minutes. So I want to get all my licks in right off with you.
let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. So what I want to do first is I want to show this thing of you and the Buble background singers. This would be, so give me a second and I want to play this because you guys sound really, really good. And I was listening to this last night, and I got to show this. So here we go. I believe in starting over. I can see that your heart is true. I believe in good things coming back to you. Oh, you're the light that lifts me higher. So bright you got me through. I believe in you. oh, oh. oh, wait. Okay. That was great. I like that. So, so you guys get along pretty well. Is that correct?
We have a really good time. I mean, they truly are my family. When I'm not home, they are my family. When we're on the road and stuff, it's great.
So when you guys tour with Michael, what is that like? What is do you get to hang out with the band a lot, or as singers, you have to be separate because you're not really, like hanging out with the guys, or how does that all work?
Most of the dressing room situation is kind of set up in band, like parts of the band, like the brass and the horn section. They get their own thing. The rhythm section get their own thing. The vocals get their own thing. Of course, Michael has his own room, of course, but uh, basically, the production team, they have their own room and wardrobe. But as far as getting together and hanging out, I mean, we all are kind of interspersed amongst tour buses and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So we spend time with each other on those, and there'll be hangs that'll happen throughout the tour, and whether it be, hey, there's a thing, there's a jam session happening, so and so's going to play, come out and support if you're around. That kind of thing happens a lot. So
Well, how many buses do you travel with?
uh, gosh, if I remember correctly, gosh, I know if I remember correctly, I believe the number 20 something is floating around in there. I want maybe even more. Forgive me if anybody who's on the team is watching this and they're like, Jared, it's way more than that. We have a huge crew of people, and the stage itself is, has a huge, has a bunch of very huge pieces that are all shipped in the trucks as well. I want to say it's 20 some odd trucks and buses involved. So yeah.
Wow. So it isn't one of those tours like Tower of Power, who does they tour all the time, but they really only travel with a small truck and a bus.
No, it's a full big old show. He has a production, and it's so wonderfully and seamlessly put together. It's beyond mind blowing when I get a chance to watch it happen. There's somewhere online. There's a time lapse of watching the entire day of what happens with the stage getting put up, sound check happening, the show in and of itself happening, and then the stage getting taken apart and off to the next city. And it's a million people that seem like that put it together so quickly and so well. We're always safe, and they do such a phenomenal job.
Well, I think I have a picture I pulled off of your Facebook page. Um, Actually, let me make this, and it looks to me. I don't know if you have my, but it's the whole band, and there's a like a half arch thing of lights behind the band, and how big of a band is this? Is there how big is the horn section? Is it a big band?
It's a big band. It's a full big band. 13 horns,
Mhm.
16 strings,
Whoa,
one, two, three, four, five-piece rhythm section, and us, the three vocalists
that's
beside
huge.
behind Michael. Yeah.
That's huge. So
Mike, he always makes a joke that when he gets on stage that Ed Sheeran is making so much more money than he is because Michael's paying all of us. So, uh, so obviously, thanks for the opportunity to work, sir. But yeah,
right?
he put in so many resources to ensure the quality of the show is just again second to none. He sings the entire thing, uh, and the band is playing the entire show. And I mean, there really aren't that many bells and whistles beyond the fact that it's a production. But when it comes to the musicality of everybody, it's all right there in front in your face.
Well, I from listening to his records, his records are produced immaculately, and the sound quality and production of anything that he's recorded has always been better than most. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
and I've also known some of the guys, the musicians that he's had on those recordings, and based on the sound of you guys, I can't imagine having a band that is anybody that's less than him. I mean, he's right. I mean, he would have everybody at a level that would be in, incomparable. I mean, it would be really good. And this makes me feel like that whole story about big bands coming back. I mean, hey, our big band's going to. I mean, 16 horns. That's a regular big band. I
It's
mean,
a real big band. I mean,
right.
the stage is set up with basically what you're saying is like a band shell behind him, and yeah, he's doing something that's unprecedented in 2020, 2019, 2020. I don't know if there's anybody that's going out with that many players and playing live music like that and filling out arenas. I mean, he's doing an arena stadium. One of the biggest shows we ever did was at Crow Park in Dublin, Ireland, where it seats about 80,000 people, and there was not an empty seat in the house.
Whoa. I know that Michael Buble is big, but
He's
that
big.
that's big.
He's yeah. I mean, there are to me. I mean, now he's got us set up into a new normal. I mean, I know that term is being thrown around quite a bit these days, but he's got us to the point where we're doing a smaller house tonight, 8,000. What? We're doing a smaller house tonight, 10,000. Because he's gotten to a point where he just amassed such an incredible following that you know 12, 15,000 in a night is nothing to him because he's just that incredible of a musician, of a performer. So yeah.
Well, and here's one thing. I know he's got a. You told me one time that you had done a recording session with him, and that his ear, all you could say is he's a beast because he just
Yes.
comes in and sings it, and his pitch and everything is perfect. And so what is that? What's it like to be singing with somebody that is that good to back him up? I mean, is that even a
It's honestly it's a master class. I mean, every evening we get a chance to back him up, and you're watching him. And the thing is that he's a great singer. He's a phenomenal vocalist. But then you add to that his ability to go out and make a 18,000 person arena feel like a very intimate venue that everyone feels like they're part of it. He can somehow reach the people in the highest nosebleed seats
mm,
and make them feel like they had the most special and intimate experience ever. That's the part for me that I'm always trying to learn from him, and that he makes everyone feel so special, and makes everybody feel as if this moment. I mean, he's having a real exchange with with everybody individually. That's one of the probably the things that has made him such an incredible artist for such a long time. In that, anybody can go out and sing a lot of these songs, like they're standards, and people. I mean, shoot, as you know, as a wedding, as a corporate band, player, we sing a lot of these songs all the time. But you have to have something more, and he has that thing that makes it so much more of an experience than what any of us have ever experienced.
right. It helps to be a really good singer, but we also know
Oh yeah, yeah,
there are singers out there that don't aren't really that good that are popular and famous, and I think it's because they have that ability to connect. And
yeah,
so you can, when you're really a good singer and can connect, I mean, that's just icing on the cake.
yeah.
um, I think that sometimes singers and musicians we know in the local community who are really good don't understand why they haven't been successful. And I think what you're just saying is something that they need to figure out how to connect with their audience.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
there's something to be said about that. And so is there anything that he does that you can say, that's what I got to do? That's when I go out and sing, that's what I got to do. Anything?
His I think he would say this, and I think other people who've been working with him for a while would agree, is that he gets out on that stage and he's just his authentic self. He's not trying to be anything he's not. He he's the most authentic version of himself as you could possibly hope to get. He's not putting on some sort of false front. He's really truly what you see, and I think that's what makes him so endearing and easily received by. I mean, over the last year and a half of being with him and touring with him, I've had a number of friends and family come to the show who were not necessarily Buble fans prior to, and if I and so many of them have come away saying things like, "Oh my gosh, I knew I'd heard that voice before, and he has a great voice, but I never realized how much I would enjoy the show." And it's
Hmm.
because he just brings an entire presentation to it. Again, not just singing a bunch of songs, not just letting the band do all the work. He is really put together. He has put this mixture of incredible people, both behind the scenes and in the front, to make this show just be something that is honestly, I don't think there's anything else out there like that right now.
Not that I can think of that's that kind of music. And that's a style of music that, as we know, is disappearing really.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some people doing it on a local level, but on the national scene, who is it that might be doing that kind of music other than him? Um,
I mean, obviously he has peers, or I guess there are some peers out there that would maybe like the Harry Connicks of the world, or what have you. But even still, I mean, there's a lot of apples and oranges things out there. Both of those guys in particular are so great at what they do but at the same time so incredibly different, so
Right.
it's hard to put him in a box with somebody else that's doing a similar thing because it's so very unique to him.
Right. Well, I want to jump to something else that you're doing before Michael Bublé, and this I know was a great experience for you too. And I'm going to pull up these pictures. I think this is Take Six, correct? You worked with Take Six for a little while,
Yes,
right?
yes, I do.
And so I think I pulled some pictures up of you fellas singing, and I'm just kind of showing those right. Oh no, there's a Michael Bublé, a great shot of you with Michael and the background singers, and then here is another shot of you at the Blue Note um, with Take Six,
Uh-huh.
and so that is stylistically completely different.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, what now? When you started that band, what's different stylistically in that and singing with Michael? If that's a fair
Oh,
question.
you mean when I started singing with them?
Yeah.
Because I just so we're clear, I did not start that band. I was a fan of that band when I
Right.
was
I mean,
very young, and yeah, just making sure people know that I'm not claiming
right.
that. Uh, it's an entirely different part of your brain, just musically and everything that comes along with it. It's a whole different just piece of just trying to make music in concert with five other guys. Um, Oftentimes, it's just a matter of us getting together and making sure that I'm locking in the chord. And it's the best example in my professional experience where I'm able to say I have this really great opportunity to make phenomenal music, and every single voice needs to pull their weight. You know, Obviously with Michael's show, it's the Michael show, and we just do our best to support him as best we can. Whereas with Take Six, you're you have to pull your own weight, and whether it be in a lead position or in a supporting voice position, it's it's just an entirely different type of music production.
Mm.
And so it's definitely it's the hardest music I've ever had to sing in my life. It's the most challenging music. Mark Kibble, I guess Mark Kibble, Mervyn Warren, and Cedric Dent, who's done the lion's share of the arranging of the stuff that I sang. Uh, those guys are brilliant beyond measure, and in their own respective fashions. And I cannot honestly say I've sung anything more challenging than that music because it's just so intricate. It's
The-
such a it's a beautifully chaotic cacophony of sound.
some of the chords are really tight, really, y- if you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying. In hearing I have trouble hearing a third and a fourth. So when you're singing with six people and you have a really tight chord, I mean, hearing your note and it, keeping it in pitch with everybody, I would imagine it would be difficult unless you
it
practice it.
definitely is. Yeah, and thankfully I've had a number of experiences in a cappella music leading up to that. I
Mm,
honestly feel like every single uh, group I've sang with leading up to that was in a lot of ways a training ground for what honestly was the zenith of groups to sing in, which is Take Six. Uh, Again, because they've been doing it so well for so long. I think most people would agree that they are in a lot of ways. I mean, they do a show called The Summit, where they with the Manhattan Transfer that they are essentially they're considering that they're putting themselves as icons, and they're considered as icons in this game of vocal music because there's so many people who've taken from them, and again, the way I even vocal arrange my own stuff or way I hear things harmonically has so much to do with what those guys did, or still do. So
mm.
they've been hugely impactful to me and influential to me.
Well, I just when you do the show, and I'm trying to come up with musical questions because it fascinates me when I listen to them. And when you do the show, do does everybody get a solo? And when when you trade parts and everything, what is the movement of the lines that you have to sing? Like I don't know if these are good vocal questions, but from what I
Well,
hear,
I mean, obviously,
go ahead.
everybody, yeah, songs are obviously created, oftentimes with a guy in mind to lead the song.
Hmm.
uh and sometimes it's just, and sometimes just works out where it's an ensemble thing where it's just a lot of just singing together in a choral type of experience. When it comes to some of the part singing, uh, I sing the baritone part when I'm singing with those guys, which is actually kind of interesting because I'm a tenor. but
Right.
um, uh, but when I'm called to sing with them, I'm singing the baritone part, and the parts will just be basically those notes are always just kind of filling in the chord, whatever's missing in that chord. So they'll have me jumping. I mean, that kind of thing is a line that I would have to sing in a song that doesn't make any sense out of context, but within the framework of what has been built quarterly by Mark Kibble or whoever, who's doing the writing for the song, the arranging for the song, it makes sense. But out of context, there's nothing that makes sense about what's happening coming out of my mouth.
Well, when I had music theory, and but way back in my college days, and I was trying to harmonize things, I would try to do things really simple, right?
Right, right.
Keep all the different, alto, tenor, baritone, all that kind of stuff. And yet, when I hear these kinds of arrangements, they're moving all over the place.
Yeah,
And all I can think of is you have to be able to hear stuff in your head somehow in order to get that on the paper and just know it's going to work. I mean, I don't, I couldn't do it, but the imagination to hear the way those notes move is is beyond me. I mean,
yeah,
so what
yeah. It's those guys are. The cool part is that I've actually been able to write a song for them. But yeah, I've
really?
been able to actually write a song for them. Yeah, and it's called Reset. And it was off of their uh, shoot, what was that record called? It was off of their not their most. It wasn't off Icon, which is their most recent record, but the one before that. Gosh darn it, I'll think of it in a second. But they I wrote this song and co-wrote it with a gentleman by the name of Kevin Dean, and he and I came up with this idea called Reset. But before you submit the song to the group to start singing, Mark Kibble, again, they call him the Markitect because he's built the sound in large part of what Take Six does. He basically took what we did and just made it into a Take Six song, and
Hmm.
it was just again you just take that amazing ability that he has and pair it with whatever is already an idea that's in embryonic form, and all of a sudden you have this what a really amazing song, or not necessarily the song that I write, but just what he'll do to the song will make it really just be incredible.
Well, and when I'm trying to, while we're talking here,
What
you
was
had
the name of that song of that album? Gosh, I can't think of it.
I'm, and we might hear something in a minute as these pop up. I'm trying to find your videos because I wanted to play something, a couple of things here that you did, and we did one the last time, but there's another one here, and you're using a program called Acapella something. Uh, that-
Yeah, acapella. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I wanted to play something that you did here. Um, Give me a second while we're talking about how all the parts are, because this might be an example that you can explain some of the all
All
of the
right,
parts as you put this together. So give me a second while I get this up. Here we go. At
absolutely.
some point. At some point, I'm going to get really big, and I'll be able to afford an assistant that can have this ready for me. You know,
We all will have that one day, sir. We'll all
right?
have that one day.
Okay, so here goes um, one of the acapella pieces you did. For tonight is just your night. We're gonna celebrate all through the night. Pour the wine, light the fire. Uh-oh. Girl, your wish is my command. You know, I can't do anything about the internet. I submit to your demands. I will do anything. Girl, you need only ask. I'll make love to you like you want me to. And I'll hold you tight. Baby, all through the night, I'll make love to you when you want me to. And I will not let go till you tell me to. That was cool. So when you were doing that, and for I apologize for my internet. You know, even hang on. Is just your... I'm having internet issues. We had a conversation about this before. You know, the last time you were on, we had internet issues, and it's getting better, but we still are at the mercy of the internet and the connections and all of that sort of stuff. So um, when you
Sure.
did that arrangement, uh,
Sure.
didn't Boys to Men do that, an arrangement of that once way back? I think.
That's their song.
Oh, right.
It's
Okay.
actually, in fact, if I remember correctly, Babyface Edmonds wrote that song. "I'll Make Love to You," and that's their song from the Two record that they it's called Two, and. And believe it or not, that was actually I submitted that as an audition for something. I was
Really?
like, all right, well, and I might as well just put it up for content's sake, just and I love doing things a cappella. I love making harmony, and so
Mhm.
it's something that I really enjoy, and it was just a fun opportunity to uh, just to kind of just throw a song together that in a cappella form that I loved growing up. So that was the one I chose.
Okay, so you kind of have to forgive me my lack of depth in vocal talk. You know, because I'm used to going, okay, it's the drum part is, and here's the hi-hat and here's the, but when it comes to talking about vocals, I don't have any real. So when you did this, did you do 9 separate parts, or was anything doubled, or did you have a different voice on all 9 voices? I mean, a different note.
Yeah, there were some doubles. There were some doubles there. Just like in recording audio in the studio, if you double something, it just gives it a thicker, fuller sound. And
Mm.
so I like to have that doubled sometimes in a situation like that. It was a very straightforward kind of 4-part harmony type of thing. So you could throw two, two, two. It was 8 probably doubles, and then the lead, the for tonight is just that part was just singled out, but everything else was doubled.
Oh, okay. Uh, is it hard to do something like that and record each voice separately? I mean, for me, I'm going, it would be hard.
You know, it's actually something. Again, I've been doing this for a while. I've been singing a cappella, man, in about 23, 4 years now. And so it's a thing that I hear the harmony. It's just something that I've been doing long enough now where I mean it's always a fun challenge to see what you could do and harmonically throw together, but all in all it's a thing that I've been doing long enough now where it's something that I do pretty instinctually.
Mm. So one thing I saw you one time. I did sound for Gary Lux. His daughter, he's a recording engineer, and his son got married. Mark Levang put a band together, and you were there. And I forget the gal and the guitar player, but what was amazing for a guy that does a lot of sound for groups that just sort of get put together was how the three of you were able to listen and just naturally
Uh huh.
pick parts. And so I think one of the things that you were just describing is something that not everybody develops in able when they go and just have to sing with two or three different new guys to instinctually hear where another person goes and then find the part. And
Yeah.
and so what you've done in with acapella and everything, has that really helped you be able to do that? Is that you listen to, or
Absolutely. I mean, growing up,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, growing up in the churches where no, 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 you're fine. Growing up in the churches where everything kind of started for me and singing harmony there, you know, that's kind of where everything just was the foundation was built upon that, and it became it became a thing for me where if I heard another note, I'd much rather sing the note that's not there, that's missing, than singing the melody. I mean, everybody knows what the melody is, but let's put a funky harmony on this. Let's put a really fun harmony on this uh, to make it even cooler. In my mind, it'll be a much more fun oral experience for somebody. So yeah, I mean, I in a situation like that where you're singing with people you've never sang before necessarily, or people that uh, they have something already figured out amongst themselves. I'm usually able to, if I already know the song, able to kind of find my part within the mix to add another note to make it sound more full.
Well, I gotta say, again, I'm not a singer, and I never claim to be, but I hear and I listen when I'm doing sound, and it's not something that every singer can do real well. Is just jump into a group, hear a part, and sing it, and make it sound right. It is not something that everybody can do real easy. So when I can hear people do that, I'm always awestruck, and I've always noticed that about you and your singing, and how you can blend and hear notes and go there, and not just step back and go, "Oh, I don't know this song. I don't think I'll sing on it." Okay, I know some people that'll do that, but no, you mentioned it's like, "Oh, I don't know that song. I think I'll just step back. He can carry it. We don't need this other part in there." Um, so now we've been at 30 minutes and we've talked about some really cool stuff. But now I want to go back. If somebody who knows you and wants to learn more about you, you mentioned growing up in the church. Did we get there the last time we talked? Where did you grow up? Are you
Oh, so I'm originally from Bloomington, Normal, Illinois.
Bloomington, Illinois?
Normal,
Bloomington,
Illinois,
normal?
Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. Um, yeah, they call themselves the Twin Cities, and
Oh,
yeah, it's a smaller town. As in fact, it's the if you're familiar with State Farm Insurance, that's where that company was founded in Bloomington. There it's a very Midwest type of town, and I think in my town at the time, the last time I checked, there was about 60,000 people in it. Um, went to just cut my teeth doing everything there, and went to school at a place called Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois. Uh,
that.
Went there, and from there from there I started off singing professionally with a group called Chapter 6, which is a group that we sang professionally. We've been singing professionally now for almost shoot like 18 years now, and so it's been one heck of a ride with those guys as well. So
Do you still sing
um,
with that band? Do you still sing with
I
Chap?
do. In fact, during this season, this crazy pandemic season, this has been the first time in a long time where we've been able to all kind of press pause and say, okay, well, we all have time. Let's try to do some recording. Let's try to do some music. And we actually are working on some music now. And those guys are my brothers before anything else. I'm very, very fortunate, very blessed to have done a lot of life with them. All of us were at each other's weddings, and you know, saw so many children being born, and so many awesome uh, you know, life achievements and experiences. Be able to share those things with those guys. It's been an awesome, familiar, family opportunity to just be there.
And all of you guys are from Illinois area in the middle. That's kind of the middle of the state, right? Uh,
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the state, and yeah, we're all from the Midwest. We have one lone guy from Wisconsin, but everybody else is from Illinois area.
and how far is that from Chicago? Did you get but up to Chicago much?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours. About 2.5 hours away from Chicago, and yeah, obviously we go up there quite often for various entertainment opportunities, or we performance opportunities. Families up there as well. So yeah, I find myself in Chicago quite often. Back when I lived in the area.
And so now I'm curious. So you were born in Bloomington Normal, and that's new to me because I'm familiar with Bloomington. Um, when
Yeah,
when did you leave that part of the country and decide to come to California?
my wife and I came here in 2009 to Los Angeles, and it's been an adventure. We both felt compelled and felt led, honestly, just to kind of come out here and take a leap of faith and just try something new. To be able to you know, maybe just kind of just build something from the ground up, which is kind of what we're doing out here. Uh, Finding a path that is entirely unconventional, but something that is ours and that we're proud of. And she's been working in various parts of the private sector, whether it be working for a nonprofit right now with LA Family Housing, or working with as an using her education stuff. The degree she got in education from Millikan. My wife and I met in Millikan, by the way, Millikan University. Uh, and yeah, we came out here. I came out here thinking I wanted to be a singer songwriter. Wanted to see what opportunities would present themselves out here. Come to find out, so many of my opportunities would be in just singing, whether it be singing on sessions or for film and television stuff, whether it be singing in corporate bands, whether it be, singing backgrounds for major artists, what have you. I mean, it's been such an incredible discovery of what all this town can provide you if you have the audacity to come out and give it a shot. It's been a really cool and very fun adventure so far. I mean, we've had our highs and lows, but so many more highs than the lows, for
Well,
sure.
before I ask you about some of the work you started doing, I want to ask you about your wife because I have been doing sound for some of the fundraisers for LA Family Housing,
Oh,
and
okay, very cool.
and there's a chance that I may have met her there and not know she was connected to you.
Yeah, yeah,
What's
it's
her
very
name?
possible.
Yeah, what's her
Her
name?
name is Andrea,
On
Andrea Johnson.
you know what? I think I may have met her, and you can ask her at the last LA Family Housing golf tournament they had. I believe
Yes,
I talked to her
I'm
about
sure you
music.
did.
I was playing some music, and we talked about it. So I'm pretty sure that I've met her, and
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did.
and
I'm
of
sure you
course
did.
I always kind of come off like, as my son calls it, a goob. You're a goober, Dad. you know, which means I'm kind of like who was the guy on Andy Griffith, the goalie, he kind of tells me I'm that kind of guy sometimes. So
oh, Gomer Pyle, Gomer Pyle.
right, yeah, Gomer Pye. I'm kind of one of those guys sometimes. Um, So anyway, tell her that, hello for me. Um, now, when you came to,
Absolutely. That's such a small world. That's crazy.
it is, and I love what they do. Man, they're doing some really nice stuff and getting people homes. And as a matter of fact, if this keeps up, I may be one of those people looking for one of those homes. I'm not, and
Let's hope that's not the case. But
we all it takes is a couple more months of this, and I'm not far from it. But I won't. I'm not going to think about it. So when you got to town, then what was the first gig you got? How did you find that connection?
my first gig I got was singing with a group called another a cappella group called Impact, and those guys are some of the most incredibly gifted guys I'd had ever sang with, and they were already really well plugged into the city, whether it be with the corporate band stuff or session singing stuff or doing sound, all that kind of stuff. There's so many different levels of talent that the band already had, and they invited me to come and sing with them. And in doing that, I'll never forget this. Tris Curlis, who's actually now a member of the Manhattan Transfer, he suggested that I work with Mark Levain, and at the time he was working for one of the corporate bands in companies in town. I'll leave that name out. But he was working for that company, and they needed a sub for that night. And Tris threw my name in the hat to one of the band leader, and he's like, "Dude, he's solid. He'll be able to knock it out, learn the songs, do whatever." So it was at that moment in probably 2011, 2010. No, sorry, 2010 probably. I began my corporate band opportunities there. So it was Mark Levain heard me. He really enjoyed what I had to offer. Then he started his own company, and then I started working with him pretty regularly. And then that turned into working for another company in town that I work with quite often now. They've kind of become I guess, my home base as far as the one I work with the most. But
And I
yeah,
like
it
those
was,
guys.
yeah,
I
it's
like,
the corporate band thing.
yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They honestly kept the lights on for us. They were the reason why, in large part, we were able to kind of survive in the early goings of us being in Los Angeles. It was hard, and I always tell anybody who comes out here, if you can make it 3 to 5 years out here, and Los Angeles doesn't spit you out, man, you've accomplished something. You really have achieved a great milestone in doing that.
I agree because it takes a certain amount of drive, and even if you get kicked and rejected, of persevering and
Yeah,
finding, because for me, from my point of view, it has nothing to do with whether you're good or not. It's just there's so many people that are in your way, and I mean, I don't mean that in a good or a bad way. It's just that there's so many people trying to do the same thing to
sure.
establish a connection and have it get legs and kind of work for you is hard. And I just want to say Mark Levang completely in your corner because he's the guy that introduced you to me.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did a couple of gigs.
I owe that man so much. I mean, obviously, there have been so many people on this journey for me, especially since moving to Los Angeles, that have played a huge role in any success I've been able to attain and any consistent work and opportunities. Mark was hugely important, especially in the first few years of me being here. So shout out to Mark Levang. Thank you so much for everything you did to help me out, man.
Yeah, and he was also helpful to me. I don't know anybody that who comes into contact with him and he isn't helpful, hasn't been helpful to.
Yeah,
He's a guy. Um, so when you got into to doing sessions, and I know that's another thing that's really different and hard from singing live. Uh,
sure.
what were some of the first gigs that you did there?
Ooh, let's go back. One of the first session things I probably did, gosh, I want to say one of the first things was singing backgrounds on an ABC television show at the time. Just singing some background vocals for a choir thing that was going on there, and basically you just did the behind the you just basically did the pre-records for that show, and then when you get to the actual the filming of the show, those vocals are already laid in, and then you get a chance to. Sometimes you'll be on screen with the singing the vocals that you sang. Other times they'll just have you sing the pre-records for it, and somebody else will be hired to actually be out there in front. But singing on like just at, like different sitcoms. Oh, and then I think it made you know what? No, I'm sorry. It was New Girl. It was New Girl, a show on Fox at the time. It was really fun. Got a chance to be a part of the singing police choir that they had there. And I mean, they basically just had a bunch of people who were police officers, and we started singing in their office and stuff like that. It was one of the earlier opportunities I had to be in a session singing situation. That was a lot of fun, and that's the one thing about that world, session singing world, is that every day is going to be different. You may be singing having your voice mimic an old person, a little boy, a you may be trying to emulate singing some sort of a foreign language, from a different country, a different ethnicity. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can, obviously just manipulate your voice to make it fit the need at the time.
I think that is something that's unique to Los Angeles in itself, where you can get into session singing and all of the TV and movie things that are happening if you can get in that circle. And
Yeah,
by the way, I want to ask you, what I'm hearing is all of that has sort of closed down and quieted as well.
yeah,
And, it's a hard time to try to make a living. However, with someone like you that can do all the different uh, ways of singing, doing a cappella to corporate band to some of the session work, there ought to be a way that you will be able to find work when it comes back, because the TV stuff I think will probably come back soonest, I'm
yeah,
guessing.
yeah. That's my hope. That's my guess. I'm pre- I'm preparing for whatever opportunities are going to be there. I don't have any idea how the governments are going to start to slowly open things back up. But again, I want to be very mindful and careful in whatever it is that we end up doing, and obviously be obedient to whatever the legal, the people who are in government, whatever they suggest and whatever they recommend. But I want to believe that it'll probably be the studios. There are so many projects, whether it be film and television projects, that need to get produced, that need to be finished, and my guess is that that stuff will open up probably first, because you won't be in mass, very tightly compacted, a lot of people, populous situations where a lot of people will be present, whereas it'll be probably smaller ensembles that can go in there and get the job done.
Yeah, and also there could be a chance that you can do things from home. Do you have a home studio set up for
I
yourself?
do. I have a whole. I'm fully able to record vocals here, and I've been doing that quite a bit in the midst of this whole season that we're in right now. I mean, I've been able to be a part of some really cool projects. Not all of them are necessarily money motivated and financially motivated, but rather, uh, an opportunity to support those first responders, an opportunity to give attention to those who are really hurting, who have really been impacted by this season of loss for a lot. So being able to do projects that'll raise money and attention to those who need it the most, whether it be uh, you know COVID-19 crisis relief for various organizations. Music Cares is one that I'll be doing something for later this week. Just got done one to kind of bring attention to the first responders in the hospitals,
Mm.
and and singing "God Bless America" with a bunch of other section singers around the country. A really beautiful statement, a really beautiful opportunity to be with them. So even in the midst of this crazy time, you know, I've been having a home recording setup. You're not nearly as lost and unable to create opportunities for yourself even right now. Creating content is still there.
Right. And I think with all the different conversations I've been having with guys in town here, what I'm seeing and hearing, I should say what I'm hearing and more than seeing, is the content is really in demand right now. Content on TV and
Yeah.
live streaming, and they're going to need music. And now that all of the big sessions where people get together are not happening, people are starting to do everything from the home. So there's going to be a demand. And if you've got your home studio set up, that you can stay connected to those gigs, because I believe in at least the next 3 months or so, that's kind of where everything's going to go. I think that's just what I'm hearing.
I would say you're absolutely right. I mean, however much you're able to do from a remote situation, from remotely, is going to better your opportunity. Whether you're doing self tapes, whether you're doing just recording from your home or studio to try to submit for something, or whatever the case may be, you're setting yourself up to be the people that are going to be the most highly recommended and just the most valuable commodity moving forward until we're able to go back outside and play.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Hey, Jarrett, can you come out and play? Come on, man.
like, nah, man, not until they say it's open, until the outside's open again.
You know, and this was my first thought. One gig that I had picked up, which is nothing you ever want to say that you want to put on a resume to say it shows your capabilities as a sound guy, but it was a shopping center in Santa Monica that had live music 3 days a week, and they had soloist duos and trios 3 days a week, and it was like $1,000 a week. And all I had to do was drive over there and manage the mixing board to make sure they always sounded good.
Right.
And that potentially could come back first because it was out in an open air setting. And if the shopping center opens up, and people start wandering around, there would be a way that we could socially distance, and I could wear a mask. And I'm hoping this, I'm visualizing this to happen.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really, really great.
And then all they need to do is be able to figure out a way for the singers to be able to sing and not have a mask. Maybe put up one of those blast shields that they started putting up at the grocery stores and stuff. So
Hmm.
something like that, if that would come back, that would cover me. And it's not anything you want to say you put on a resume, but it certainly pays the bills.
You At this point, it's about keeping your lights on, man. Whatever it takes, whatever you got to do.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So you know what? We've been at 53 minutes. Does it seem like we've talked that long?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. That's great.
So and I apologize for stumbling and fumbling around and trying to figure out a way to talk to a singer like I have any kind of knowledge at all. I
Dude, you're a musician, man. You absolutely know your stuff. I mean, it's everybody. But you forget. I can't play a trap set. I don't know anything about playing drums. So that's the beautiful part about making music, man. We all are. You know, you need the totality of the battery of musicians to make an entire unit. So
Yeah, that's true. And I just know from doing sound, especially, I get more opportunity to mix and actually sit and pick out people and their parts and listen. So I listen a little bit more with discernment to vocalists, especially when I do sound for vocal groups and somebody says, I can't hear so and so. And I'm looking, okay, which guy is that? You know,
right.
like For example, when the Four Preps, the old doo-wop band, when I first did sound for them, I didn't really know who the guys were, and somebody come up and said, "I can't hear Bruce." I go, "Okay, which part is he?" And then I would have to sit there and really listen for, I can't hear the alto, or I can't hear whatever,
Right, right.
and I had to really start figuring out who was not coming up in the chord, and go, oh man, okay, that's what that was. So I can hear, but I can't necessarily describe it to a singer and say, hey, can you get that part? I kind of fumble around with real technical vocal terms. You
Yeah,
know,
but at the same time, it sounds good, and that's the cool part about it is that with your you line up what you already know, which is what sounds good, with the technical ability you do have, and you provide that will then make you very very valuable in that scenario, because if you don't have one or the other, then you're not able to execute. You're not going to be able to perform at a high level. Even It's funny. The other night, I was watching this thing on Instagram, and the importance of a sound person was never more flagrantly displayed as it was that night, where things were just going so haywire. And I'm the guys like this. If you're anybody who's doing what you're doing, you deserve every acknowledgement, every positive affirmation you possibly could muster, because you're doing God's work. You're doing God's work, man.
well, thank you for that. And I have to say, from my point of view, the vocalists are the most important part in the band. When they're for a band and they're singing, you really need to be able to hear the words and the lyrics and the vocals so people can recognize the song.
Yeah,
Y-
that's definitely important.
You know,
But I'm never gonna be the guy that's be like, the value of another member of the band, whether it be sound person or otherwise, is any less important.
well,
Without one of those pieces, you're all of a sudden like, you're missing something. It's not going to be where it needs to be.
this is true. But I want to bring this kind of full circle back to the beginning with the Michael Buble from a sound guy's perspective. Is I've watched him sing, and all I could think of is if I was running sound for him, I would be going freaking nuts because of his mic technique. His mic is all over the place, and I'm, how the hell do guys be able to get that sound out of his mic when it's 1 minute it's a foot away? Then I understand, singing loud and stuff, but one time I was watching a TV special, and the only thing I could think of is they must have some boom mics and stuff over him, because he dropped the mic. He was still singing, and the mic was down by his waist. And I'm going, what? The sound guy's got to be going nuts with that.
Well, the guy he's been a part of Michael's team for, man, I don't know how long, at least maybe 14 years, something like that.
Mm.
His name is Craig Dubé. He is a master at making all of us sound phenomenal. And so whatever Michael's technique is, man, Craig is able to make it all just sound just crispy. Even
Wow.
in a big arena, he's able to still find a way to make all of us just really just he gives us our best performance, our best chance to sound great. So shout out to Craig Dubé, where he's just really out here doing a phenomenal job. And again, without that guy, I don't know what we would sound like. Again, there's so many moving parts and pieces to this puzzle that
Right.
make the show go. But man, he does a phenomenal job.
Well, Jarrett, I want to say thank you for coming back and spending an hour with me and talking and
Yeah, man.
more stuff. I kind of want to do this because, in case somebody's watching who doesn't know you, I kind of like to close this out with this black and white sessions that I played last time, but it's such a good representation of how you sing, I think.
Sure.
Uh, and
Thank
so,
you. Thank you.
yeah, I'd like to play this and close out the show with you singing on this song, if you don't mind. Is that all right with
Absolutely. That'd be great. That'd be great.
you? So this is Jarrett Johnson singing the black and white sessions with You Were Meant for Me. And I'm going to close out the show and thank Jarrett again. And we will go out listening and watching him perform this song. And here we go. Oh, come on. Of course, I'm technically challenged sometimes. Okay,
It's a brave new internet world, man. It's a brave new world.
it certainly is. Okay, here we go. You were meant for me. No one else could come between this love I know. 'Cause I'll never let you go. You and me, it seems, never have a problem we can overcome. 'Cause you'll always be the one. Never thought I'd be so happy. Loving you has made me feel so fine. I can see my friends turn green with envy. Every time I tell them I'm so glad you're mine. You were meant for me. No one else could come between this love I know. 'Cause I'll never let you go. You and me, it seems, never have a problem we can overcome. 'Cause you'll always be the one, yeah. Never did one thing to hurt me. You always understood my ways. If I could, I'd stay right here beside you. With your hand in mine, making love for days. You were meant for me. No one else could come between this love I know. 'Cause I'll never let you go.